Ladies and gentlemen, they say you don't know what you have until it's gone, but let's be real. He knew exactly what he had. He just never thought he'd lose it. That's where he made the biggest mistake of his life. See, people only value what they fear losing. The moment someone becomes too accessible, too forgiving, too patient, they start blending into the background. They become an expectation instead of a blessing. And when a man thinks you'll always be there, he stops trying, he stops appreciating, he stops seeing the value in the very thing that once lit up his world. But here's what I need you to understand. You are not an option. You are not a second thought. You are not someone who should ever be taken for granted. And the moment you feel unappreciated, the moment you sense that shift where he no longer puts in the effort, that's your cue to step back. This isn't about playing games, it's about teaching a lesson that words will never fully explain. When you remove your presence, something powerful happens. It forces him to sit in the emptiness of what once was, makes him realize that what he thought was permanent was only temporary. You see, men don't process loss the way women do. While you're hurting in silence, wondering what went wrong, he's out there assuming you'll be waiting when he decides to come back. And that's where the shift needs to happen. He needs to feel your absence in a way that shakes him to his core. Don't argue, don't beg for his attention. Don't waste your breath trying to make him see your worth. Instead, disappear. Let the silence do the talking. Let the space between you remind him of what he took for granted. Because when a woman who once cared deeply suddenly becomes indifferent, it terrifies a man. And here's the truth. If he truly valued you, if he truly saw your worth, he will feel that loss in a way that haunts him. He will start to question everything. He will replay every moment in his mind, wondering how he let you slip away. Because the harshest reality a man can face is realizing that the woman he once had is now the woman he can never get back. But if he doesn't wake up, if he doesn't chase, if he lets you go without a fight, then you just won. Because you dodged a man who never deserved you in the first place. A man who was comfortable with losing you was never going to love you the way you deserve. This is where you reclaim your power. Instead of waiting for him to realize what he lost, shift that energy inward. Become so focused on your own growth, your own happiness, your own success, that his absence feels like a distant memory. Because the real flex isn't making him miss you. It's making sure you never need him again. And don't think for a second that he won't notice. Because the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop overgiving, the moment you pull back all that love, care, and effort he once took for granted, he's going to feel it. He's going to see you glowing, thriving, untouchable, and it's going to eat at him. That's the price of taking you for granted. The weight of regret is heavier than the effort it would have taken to keep you. And by the time he realizes it, by the time he comes running back with apologies, with excuses, with "I miss you" texts, you'll be long gone. There comes a moment in life when you have to decide, are you going to let someone else define your worth, or are you going to take control and set the standard? Because here's the truth. Your self-worth is not up for negotiation. It's not something you need to prove. It's not something you need to beg for. And it's definitely not something someone else gets to decide. When you allow someone to take you for granted, you send a message. Whether you realize it or not, you tell them that your presence is guaranteed, that your love is unconditional, that no matter how they treat you, you'll always be there. And the moment they believe that, they stop putting in effort, they stop appreciating, they stop showing up for you the way they once did. But listen to me, you were never meant to be an afterthought. You were never meant to be someone's backup plan, someone's second choice, someone they only miss when it's convenient for them. You are either a priority or you are nothing at all. And the second you start questioning your worth because of someone else's actions, you've already lost. Let's be clear, you teach people how to treat you by what you accept. If you tolerate being ignored, you will be ignored. If you tolerate disrespect, you will be disrespected. If you tolerate breadcrumbs of affection, that's all you'll ever get. But the moment you decide you are worth more, the moment you stop settling, everything changes. You see, people can sense when you doubt yourself. They can feel when you crave their validation, when you need their approval to feel whole. And that's when they hold power over you. But when you walk away from anything that doesn't serve you, when you refuse to accept less than what you deserve, that's when you take your power back. That's when you shift the dynamic. And let me tell you something, the right people will never put you in a position where you have to question your worth. The right man, the right relationship, the right energy will never make you feel like you have to beg for time, effort, or love. Because when someone truly values you, they make sure you know it. They don't risk losing you. They don't play mind games. They don't make you wonder where you stand. But if someone is making you feel unworthy, if someone is making you feel like you have to earn their love, that's your sign to walk away. Because nothing is lonelier than being with someone who makes you feel invisible. I know it's hard. I know it hurts. I know you want to believe that if you just try harder, if you just love them more, if you just give them more time, they'll change. But let me ask you this. When was the last time they made you feel truly valued? When was the last time they showed up for you the way you show up for them? When was the last time you felt like the prize instead of the one chasing after someone who doesn't see you? And here's the kicker. The second you stop chasing, the second you stop proving your worth, the second you pull away, that's when they wake up. That's when they start to wonder why you're no longer available, why you're no longer giving, why the energy they once relied on has disappeared. And that's when they realize they were never in control, you were. There comes a moment when a man sits alone with his thoughts, and for the first time he sees things clearly. He replays memories in his mind, the way you laughed, the way you supported him, the way you were always there, believing in him, even when he didn't deserve it. And then it hits him. He lost something rare. At first, he may not feel it. He may think he's free, that moving on was easy. He may assume you'll always be there, expect it, a song, a scent, a phrase, and suddenly he feels the emptiness. He realizes that what he took for granted was the very thing he now craves the most. A man never regrets losing a woman immediately, because in the beginning, he's distracted. He fills his time with other people, other experiences, trying to convince himself that he made the right choice. But it's in the quiet moments, when the noise fades, when he's alone with himself, that the truth becomes undeniable. He didn't just lose you, he lost the version of himself that existed when he was with you. He remembers the late night talks, the way you encouraged him, the way you believed in his dreams. He remembers how safe it felt to be around you, how effortless it was to be himself in your presence. He remembers the way you loved him fully, deeply, without conditions. And he knows in his heart that he will never find that again. And that's when the regret turns into something heavier. It's no longer just a thought, it's a weight that settles deep in his chest. He wants to reach out, he wants to fix it, but he knows the door is closed. And nothing is more painful than realizing that the person who once waited for you, who once would have done anything for you, has moved on without you. He may try to come back, he may test the waters, send a message, try to spark a conversation, but deep down, he fears the worst, that he has lost his place in your life forever. And that fear, it's crushing, because now he is the one who feels powerless. People only value what they can't have, and nothing haunts a man more than the memory of a woman who was once his safe place but no longer cares. He may have been careless with you. He may have thought you would always be an option, but now he sees the truth. He wasn't just losing time with you. He was losing the one person who truly saw him. And that is his greatest regret. Not just losing you, but losing the chance to be the man he could have been with you by his side. Because now someone else will see what he was too blind to appreciate. Someone else will experience the warmth, the love, the depth of what you had to offer. And all he will have left is a bitter truth. He had something priceless and he let it slip away. There is a difference between someone who values you and someone who simply enjoys your presence. Some people love the way you make them feel, but they don't love you enough to protect what they have with you. They assume you will always be there, that your patience is endless, that your love will withstand their carelessness. But the truth is, the right person will never put themselves in a position to lose you. When someone truly sees your worth, they don't gamble with it. They don't take unnecessary risks, thinking you will always forgive, always stay, always fight for something they don't appreciate. Instead, they make it clear losing you is not an option. They don't wait until you're exhausted from begging for effort. They don't push your limits to see how much you'll endure. They don't test your patience by neglecting what matters to you. Real love doesn't require you to suffer to prove your loyalty. It doesn't demand that you tolerate being overlooked just to be acknowledged later. It doesn't make you question where you stand or force you to wait for the bare minimum. When you are important to someone, they show you through their actions, not just their words. People make time for what they care about. They make an effort when something matters to them. And if someone is willing to risk losing you, that alone is your answer. That alone tells you everything you need to know. Because love is not about testing limits. It's about protecting what you don't want to lose. Some will only realize your worth once you walk away. They will remember how you made them feel, how you stood by them, how your presence was a gift they didn't appreciate. And regret will creep in, whispering all the ways they should have done better, but by then the damage is done. Because love should not have to be lost before it is valued. The right person will never need to lose you to wake up. They will see your worth in real time, not in hindsight. They will recognize that love is a privilege, not a convenience. They will meet you with the same energy you bring, not just when it's easy, but always. Because when someone truly cares, they don't risk losing you. They do everything to keep you. There comes a time when words no longer matter. You've explained yourself, you've repeated yourself, you've given chance after chance, hoping they'll understand, but they don't. And they won't. Because some people don't listen to words. They only understand one thing: the absence of them. Silence is the most powerful response you can ever give. It carries a weight that no argument, no pleading, no long-winded conversation ever could. When you stop explaining, when you stop chasing, when you stop giving your energy to someone who took you for granted, that's when they feel it. That's when they realize they don't have the access to you that they once did. And that realization is deafening. You see, people assume you'll always be there. They assume you'll always pick up the phone, always reply, always forgive, always care. But the second that stops, the second they're met with silence, that's when they panic. That's when they start questioning everything. That's when they realize they were never in control. You were. Because here's the truth. When you argue, when you beg, when you explain yourself over and over, you're handing them power. You're showing them that they still have an effect on you, that their actions still dictate your emotions. But when you go silent, when you walk away without a single word, that's when they start to wonder. They wonder why you're no longer reacting. They wonder why their usual tactics aren't working. They wonder why the person who used to fight for them is suddenly nowhere to be found. And that silence, it becomes the loudest sound in their world. It's in that space, in that emptiness, where they're forced to sit with their own choices. No distractions, no excuses, no comfort of knowing you'll always be there, just the reality of what they've lost. And trust me, it's in that silence where regret begins to grow. You don't need to tell them how much they hurt you. You don't need to explain why you're done. You don't need to prove anything. Your silence does all of that for you. And it's more powerful than any words you could ever say. And let's be honest, if someone truly valued you, if they truly cared, they wouldn't need your silence to realize your worth. They wouldn't need to lose you to appreciate you. They would have cherished you while they had you. So if your silence makes them suddenly wake up, suddenly miss you, suddenly want you back, ask yourself this: do they really miss you, or do they just miss the control they once had? Because there's a difference between missing someone and missing what they did for you. There's a difference between regret and real change. And most of the time, they don't come back because they love you. They come back because they lost the comfort of knowing you were always there. And that's why silence is so powerful. It exposes the truth. It forces people to reveal their true intentions. It makes them face the consequences of their actions without you having to say a single word. So the next time someone disrespects you, the next time someone ignores your worth, the next time someone assumes you'll always be there, Don't waste your breath. Let your silence speak for you. Let them feel the loss. Let them sit in the emptiness they created. And while they're wondering where you went, what you're thinking, if you'll ever come back, you'll be too busy moving forward to care. Everything in life is energy. Your thoughts, your emotions, your presence, it all carries energy. And wherever you direct that energy, it grows. When you focus on someone who doesn't appreciate you, when you pour your time and emotions into situations that drain you, you are feeding something that does not serve you. But the moment you shift your attention, the moment you pull back what you so freely gave, everything changes. People feel it when your energy is no longer centered around them. They feel the absence of your attention. They feel the space where you used to be. And that's when they wake up. Not because they suddenly respect you, but because they notice the shift. They notice that the energy they used to take for granted is no longer there, no longer fueling them, no longer feeding their ego. Most people don't realize how much power they give away. Every time you overthink someone's actions, every time you chase someone who isn't chasing you, every time you allow your peace to be disturbed by someone who doesn't value it, you are handing over your power. You are giving them control over your emotions, your time, your energy. But the second you decide to reclaim it, the second you stop feeding what drains you, you take that power back. And that's when everything shifts. That's when you become the person they start thinking about. That's when they start wondering why you're no longer available, why you're no longer responding, why their words no longer affect you the way they used to, because energy is felt before anything else. And when yours is no longer centered on them, they feel it. There is nothing more powerful than redirecting your energy, because the moment you do, you stop chasing, you stop proving, you stop fighting for something that should have been freely given. And when you stop, they start. They start feeling the emptiness that your presence used to fill. They start realizing that the attention they assumed was guaranteed is no longer there. They start questioning why they no longer hold space in your mind the way they once did. And that's the moment of truth. That's when they show you exactly who they are. Some will chase after you, not because they love you, but because they miss the energy you gave. Some will reach out, not because they respect you, but because they miss the validation of your attention. And some will disappear completely, revealing that they were only there as long as you were the one doing the work, the one giving, the one carrying the connection. And that is your answer. That is your freedom. Because when you see the truth, when you realize that your worth was never dependent on their recognition of it, you finally break free. You finally understand that the energy you were giving to them was always meant for you. So take it back. Take back your time, your focus, your emotions. Invest it in yourself, in your growth, in your happiness. Because the moment you stop pouring into what depletes you and start pouring into yourself, you become unstoppable. You become magnetic. You become someone who doesn't need to chase, because what is meant for you will always find you. And that is the ultimate shift. That is where your power lies. When you reclaim your energy, you reclaim your life. And once you do, you'll never waste it on the wrong things again.